Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of our podcast, Plants, Flowers, Oils, and Whimsy. I'm your host, Carrie Scharf, and I'm so glad you could join me today. We're going to talk about something that's both important and challenging, self-care, especially on those days when you have absolutely no energy. You know the ones I mean? When getting off the couch feels impossible, and the idea of meal prepping a kale salad or taking a luxurious bubble bath seems laughable. We're going to redefine self-care to fit those low-energy days and explore simple, practical ways you can take care of yourself even when you're running on fumes. So settle in, get comfortable, and let's jump right into it. Let's start by rejecting the Instagram perfect image of self-care. You know the one: lavish spa days, meticulously planned wellness routines, and $50 candles. That's all well and good if you've got the time and energy, but what about those days when even brushing your hair feels like a Herculean task? On those days, self-care doesn't have to be elaborate. It's not about transforming your life, it's about survival with a sprinkle of kindness. It's finding small, manageable acts of self-kindness that meet you where you are and help you get through the next hour without falling apart. Forget perfection or grand gestures. The goal here is simply to feel human again, even if just for a moment. Self-care is all about those tiny, doable ways to lift your spirits when you're at your lowest, because sometimes just surviving the day is an act of strength and courage in itself. Now let's dive into 5 low-effort self-care ideas you can try when you're absolutely drained. These are simple, practical acts that don't require a lot of energy but can make a world of difference. First up, the 1-minute reset. This is a super quick and easy way to give yourself a mental break. Sit exactly where you are, close your eyes, and take 5 slow, deep breaths. No need for a video, app, or even the pressure to clear your mind. Just breathe like you mean it. Think of it as hitting the reset button on your brain. It might not fix everything, but it offers a much-needed pause, and sometimes that's enough. Next, we have hydration station. Dehydration can sneak up on you, especially when you're tired. So grab a glass of water or whatever drink is within arm's reach and sip it slowly. Bonus points if it's cold. Consider it a little sensory wake-up call. You don't have to chug a gallon, just get some fluids in your system. It's a subtle yet powerful way to care for yourself. For our third idea, think comfort on demand. Wrap yourself in a cozy blanket, put on your softest socks, or lean into a pillow. It's like a hug you don't have to ask anyone for. Now, comfort isn't a cure-all, but it can definitely soften the rough edges of a bad day. Treat yourself to a moment of coziness. Number 4 is audio escape. If moving feels like a mountain, pop in some earbuds and listen to something comforting: a podcast, music, an audiobook, even soothing rain sounds. It doesn't require focus. It just gives your brain a break from constant spinning. Pick something familiar so you don't have to exert mental effort deciding what to listen to. Finally, perhaps the most important, permission to do nothing. Just let yourself off the hook entirely. You don't have to be productive, positive, or fixed right now. Tell yourself, I'm allowed to feel like this, and I don't need to earn rest. It's not glamorous, but it's incredibly powerful. Allowing yourself the grace to simply exist as you are can be profoundly healing. And there you have it. 5 low-effort self-care ideas that meet you exactly where you are. Remember, these small acts are all about giving yourself some grace and kindness, even on your emptiest days. Now, you might be thinking, why bother with these tiny acts of self-care? They can feel pretty pointless when you're utterly exhausted and weighed down by life. Believe me, I get it. It's easy to doubt whether something as simple as sipping water or taking a deep breath can make a difference. But here's the thing, even small acts can be steps on the path to feeling better. They serve as little reminders that you're worth the effort, even when you're at your lowest. These small gestures are like crumbs leading you back to yourself, helping you piece together fragments of well-being bit by bit. They may not refill your tank immediately, but think of them as signals to your mind and body that you still matter. Over time, these crumbs can build a path to better days. Each tiny act of self-care is a building block. You might not see the impact right away, but as these efforts accumulate, they create a foundation that can support you through your tougher times. So yes, a glass of water or wrapping yourself in a blanket might seem insignificant in the moment, but these small things add up. They remind you to care for yourself, and that reminder can be incredibly powerful. So don't underestimate the power of small acts. They might just be the crumbs that lead you back to feeling like yourself again. Now let's talk about something that often comes hand in hand with exhaustion: guilt. When you're already feeling depleted, it's easy to begin beating yourself up for not doing more, for not being more productive, or for not keeping up with those picture-perfect self-care routines you see online. But it's crucial to remember that low energy is not a moral failing. It's not a measure of your worth or your capabilities. Think of energy as a resource, not a character trait. Just like your phone needs a recharge, so do you. Feeling tired or worn out doesn't make you lazy or weak. It makes you human. And just like your phone, sometimes you need to plug in and take a moment to recharge without feeling guilty about it. It's all about giving yourself grace and understanding. You deserve the same compassion you'd give to a friend who's feeling burnt out. Be kind to yourself and acknowledge that your energy levels will ebb and flow. It's perfectly okay to have days when you're running on empty and need to take it slow. So next time you catch yourself spiraling into guilt, pause and replace those thoughts with understanding and kindness. Remind yourself that you're doing the best you can with the energy you have. And that's enough. It really is. So what happens when these low energy phases drag on longer than usual? First off, it's important to recognize when your exhaustion isn't just a fleeting moment, but is sticking around a bit too long. If you find that your energy levels have been low for weeks, or if the heaviness feels unshakable, it might be time to consider seeking external help. There's no shame in needing a hand to climb out of a tough spot. Whether that's talking to a friend who really gets you, making an appointment with your doctor, or even reaching out to a therapist, it's all about expanding your support network. Remember, self-care has its limits, and sometimes you need a little extra help to get back on track. We all hit patches where self-care alone isn't enough, and that's perfectly okay. Recognizing when to ask for help is a strength, not a weakness. When we're drained, it's easy to feel like we should fix everything ourselves, but that's not always realistic. Reaching out for support can be the most caring thing you can do for yourself. The bottom line is, you don't have to go through it alone. Whether it's just sharing your feelings with a trusted friend or seeking professional help, asking for assistance is a powerful step towards regaining your balance. You're not in this by yourself. When it comes to self-care, it's important to remember that it's not about grand gestures, but rather tiny actions that can make a difference. Simple acts like taking a deep breath, sipping some water, or wrapping yourself in a cozy blanket, these small things might seem trivial, but they can have a big impact on your well-being. Think of each small act as a building block that helps you get through the tougher times. These tiny actions can serve as little reminders that you're worth the effort, even when you're at your lowest. Over time, they accumulate and create a foundation that supports you, helping you find your way back to feeling a bit more like yourself. Now, if you're looking for even more simple, doable self-care ideas, I've got just the thing for you. My book, Radiance and Ritual, Skincare and Self-Care for the Winter Season, is filled with tips and practices that can help you nurture yourself, even on the most exhausting days. It's a great resource if you're seeking additional ways to practice self-care. And of course, don't forget to sign up for my newsletter for continuous support and more self-care inspiration. It's a wonderful way to stay connected and keep these important reminders close at hand. So keep going, take those tiny steps, and be kind to yourself. Sometimes it's the small things that make the biggest difference. You've got this. And that brings us to the end of today's episode of Plants, Flowers, Oils, and Whimsy. I'm your host, Carrie Scharf, and I hope you found today's discussion on self-care for low-energy days both helpful and comforting. Remember to check the show notes for links to my book, Radiance and Ritual, Skincare and Self-Care for the Winter Season, as well as information on how to sign up for my newsletter. I'd love to hear from you, so don't hesitate to reach out with any questions or comments you may have. Your feedback and stories are what make this podcast so special. Take care, be kind to yourself, and until next time, keep finding those tiny moments of self-care. Goodbye!